Have you ever really thought about what you're made of? I mean, really. You're an incredible community of something like 37 trillion individual cells. Trillions. Each one a tiny living thing. And that, well, that brings up a huge question.
Right? How does this massive, microscopic crowd manage to work together to become you? It's not just a chaotic mess. It's actually a beautifully organized system, all built on connection and communication. And to get our heads around it, we need to zoom out and think a little differently.
So, I want you to imagine your body as this sprawling, bustling metropolis. This is the Cellular City. And every single one of your cells is a citizen, each with a critical job to do. Okay, so first things first. Any good city needs solid infrastructure, right? It needs buildings that can stand up to pressure, and it needs secure borders. Well, our Cellular City has its own incredible construction crew for exactly that. A key part of this crew's toolkit are anchoring junctions. Now, the best way to think of these is like the heavy-duty steel rivets you'd see holding a skyscraper together. They provide that raw mechanical strength that lets our tissues bend and stretch without just falling apart. And a fantastic example of these rivets are structures called desmosomes. These guys are the real deal, the super strength connectors. You find them in places that are under constant stress. Think about your skin always stretching, or your heart muscle, which is contracting over and over again. Desmosomes create these incredibly powerful bonds that make sure those cells stay locked together. But a strong city isn't just about sturdy buildings. You've got to control what comes in and what goes out. You need security. And yep, the Cellular City has its own version of border patrol. These are called tight junctions. And they do exactly what their name implies. They form these super snug, watertight seals between cells. They act like a really picky bouncer at a club, controlling what can and can't squeeze through the spaces between the cells. Only the right stuff gets a pass.
And if you want to see just how vital this is, look no further than the blood-brain barrier. It's made of tight junctions, and it creates this highly selective shield that protects our brain from all sorts of potentially nasty things floating around in our bloodstream. It is, quite literally, the brain's personal security detail.
Okay, so we've got strong structures and secure borders, but that's not enough for a city to function. The citizens, the cells, they need to talk to each other, and not just by sending letters, but instantly. They need a direct line. And that's where gap junctions come in. These are amazing. They're basically tiny tunnels that directly connect the inside of one cell to the inside of its next-door neighbor. This creates a shared passageway, allowing for the super fast direct exchange of signals. It's the cellular equivalent of an instant message. And the way they form is actually pretty neat. It's kind of like a Lego set. You have 6 specific proteins, these building blocks called connexins. They click together to form one half of the tunnel, which we call a connexon. When that connexon lines up perfectly with another one on the cell next door, they dock together and boom, you have a complete open channel. So why is this speed so important? Well, in your heart, these gap junctions are what allow the electrical pulse to zap through all the muscle cells at once, making them contract in a perfect synchronized heartbeat. In the brain, they help whole groups of neurons fire together. They are absolutely key for citywide, coordinated action. But, not every message can be a quick shout to your neighbor. A complex city needs a more sophisticated system. It needs a postal service for targeted mail and an internet for broadcasting messages. This is the world of cell signaling.
This whole process almost always breaks down into 3 main stages. First up is reception. A signal molecule, we call it a ligand, arrives. Think of it as a letter. It can only be delivered to a very specific mailbox, a protein called a receptor. Next is transduction. Once the letter is delivered, the message gets opened and passed along inside the cell, kind of like a game of telephone. And finally, there's the response. The cell gets the message and does what it's told. Maybe it divides or produces a new protein or moves. Now those mailboxes, the receptors, can be in a couple of different places. Most signals can't actually get inside the cell, so they bind to receptors on the outside, on the cell surface. These are like the city's public mailboxes. But some special molecules, like steroid hormones, can slip right through the cell's outer wall. Their mailboxes are inside the cell, waiting for a direct, special delivery memo. So when you put all of this together, the strong physical connections, the direct instant messaging lines, and these complex long-distance signaling networks, what you get isn't chaos. It's a symphony, a perfectly coordinated city humming with activity.
Let's just look at a few of those mailboxes on the cell surface. Some are like a locked door that will only open when a very specific chemical key, that's the ligand, fits into the lock. Others are more like a doorbell. When the signal pushes the button, it doesn't open the door itself, but it rings for an internal helper, a G protein, that then scurries off to deliver the message. And then you have some that are like a self-sufficient security system. The moment the signal arrives, it kicks off a response all on its own. And really, that's the whole story right there. That incredible journey from trillions of separate little units into one single living you. It all comes down to this relentless, mind-bogglingly complex network of physical connections and constant communication. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought. If a healthy you is like a perfectly tuned orchestra, a symphony of cellular communication, what happens when just one of those instruments starts playing the wrong note? When a single cell stops listening or starts sending out bad signals? Well, that question, that's where our entire understanding of disease really begins.